Hello everybody, John here. This is going to be a vinyl finds or a vinyl and CD finds. Records and CDs that I've picked up in the past month or so. They're kind of rock related, I guess, not just 70s, but some a little bit later. But anyway, to do this, I'm going to be listening to this album by Gillan, Future Shock. I can't remember which one this is, whether it's the fourth or the fifth album that he did. It's not a bad album. I picked this up at Cardiff Record Exchange in Cardiff. Didn't pay very much for it. I'm not a huge fan of Gillan, the band, so you know, it had to be compelling for me to buy this, and it was. It's quite a nice little record set up. It's got some nice illustrations, nudity and amongst other things, pictures of the band and that sort of stuff. And it's not bad. I'm glad I've got it. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Gillan's output really, but I've got this, and that's what I'm going to be listening to in the background. I might even turn it down a little bit actually. So that's Gillan, Future Shock. Yeah, so I've been on a bit of a, you know, hard rock, heavy metal journey just recently. So rediscovering some of my older records and pulling out hard rock records from here and sort of talking about them in my new series. So what I'm going to show is pretty much based on that. I really got into Thin Lizzy recently. I mean, I've always liked them. They've always been one of my sort of favourite bands. But every now and again, I kind of get this kind of draw to sort of really investigate their music a little bit closer each time. I've done a video where I showed my collection, and I've never had the first two Thin Lizzy albums. And because they are quite expensive to buy, and they don't always get great reviews, I've been sort of apprehensive about buying them on vinyl. So I picked up CDs. There you go. And I'm going to show this one now. So this is the very first Thin Lizzy album, simply called Thin Lizzy. Got this relatively cheaply off Discogs, had it sent home to me, and well, I'm really glad that I did. I really like this record, or this album. It's really good. It doesn't always get very good reviews, and people often will sort of like dismiss the first two because they say that Thin Lizzy hadn't really discovered their direction or their sound, which is fair enough, I guess. But I think on this album you can hear the roots of you know, the talent pool between Eric Bell and Phil Lynott, and it really does stand out. I like this a lot. There's a feeling from some people that talk about the first two albums that there's kind of a sense of that the songwriting wasn't really quite there, and it is something like the early stages of Phil Lynott, sort of really before he sort of become this phenomenal songwriter that he was. And there's a feeling that some of the tracks even are a little bit sort of half-baked. You know, they could have been worked on a bit more before they were recorded. But hey, they were a very young band at the time. I like this, and one of these days, not just yet, but eventually, I'm going to do a Thin Lizzy ranking, I think, because now I've got all the studio albums. There's some good tracks on there. I mean, it's not their strongest album, but it's certainly not their weakest. So that's that. The next album I'm going to show is the next one in the catalogue there. This is Thin Lizzy, Shades of a Blue Orphanage. I didn't enjoy this one quite as much, and that criticism, that there are tracks on here that aren't quite sort of fully written, I think is fairly true. The first one, I had that in my car for a few weeks and really enjoyed it, really got into it. This one I had in my car for a couple of weeks, and yeah, it didn't really do anything for me. Sort of a difficult second album, I suppose. But I guess it's perhaps one that they had to do so that their third album, which is one of my favourite Thin Lizzy albums of all time, they had to do this in order to make that third one the success that it was. So there you go, that's Thin Lizzy, Shades of a Blue Orphanage, second Thin Lizzy album I'm showing this time. Next I'm going to show a UFO album. So UFO are another band that I've really been kind of exploring a lot recently. Yes, search on YouTube and sort of listen to people talk about their favourite UFO albums and Thin Lizzy albums, and if anyone's done a ranking video, I sort of look on those and sort of see what people say about them. This is just a hole that I didn't have. I mean, I've got quite a lot of UFO albums, I just didn't have this one. What do I think of it? It's not really their strongest moment, I don't think. I think, it's just on Chrysalis, as you'd expect. I think they had an awful lot of success with Michael Schenker, and afterwards they stumbled a bit, I think. And this is one of those albums that don't quite do it for me. So there you go. That's Mechanics. Not the strongest UFO album, but certainly not the weakest either. I'll do a UFO album as well eventually. There's another UFO album coming up soon. I'll show that in a little while. Before that, I would say that I've had this kind of urge to listen to some albums from the 90s that I really liked. I think probably while I was online looking for these Thin Lizzy albums, while I was there, I picked up a few extras. One was this album by Faith No More, Angel Dust. For anyone that knows this album, you'll know that it's really, really, really good. I'd love to have this on vinyl, but it's kind of outside of my budget, I think. I don't know why that should be, but it is. Faith No More. Such good songwriters, and it's an interesting album or an interesting band. They kind of mix in different styles and things, and when they're heavy, they are really heavy. There's a lot of really good tracks on here that I really, really like. There are one or two that I, will flip past, but the majority of it is great stuff. And while I got that one, I picked up this one too. It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, One Hot Minute. And I used to have, when I lived in Sweden, I used to work with, in the early days, I used to work with a lot of people that were exiled from Chile. I had a really good friend called Francisco. He lived on the island where I live, and he kind of had his friends from Chile, and they were exiled from their home country because of Pinochet, and there were a bunch of nice people. I really got along with them, but they always had really good music playing at their parties and things, and I always remember learning to like this one in his company, around at his parties, and having a good time. It takes me right back. I think I'm not a huge fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and this is probably the one that I like the most of theirs. Quite good. Now back to some more records. This is one that I splashed out on recently. It's one that I've been hankering after for a long time, and I've been keeping an eye on different record shops and outlets and to find a used copy, but there wasn't, nothing came up. So eventually I pulled the trigger and bought a brand new remastered reissue on vinyl of Sad Wings of Destiny. I've never had this album before. I've had Hero Hero, which is, for those that that know about Judas Priest, it was sort of a compilation of the first and second album by them, issued I think in the 80s, and I had that on cassette years and years ago. So I've never really had this whole album, and well, I pulled the trigger on it because I thought I really better have it. The reason why I had it, the reason why I wanted to get it was because there's often a lot of talk about after Black Sabbath. This was most probably the album that sort of you can point to and say it's like the first heavy metal album after Black Sabbath. It's come out in '76. The first album, Rock-A-Rolla, was less of a sort of a heavy metal, more of a sort of a bluesy rock kind of thing, whereas this, they say, is definitely. And I think there's a very strong argument for that, you know. I've really been enjoying this. I picked this up just this week, Wednesday or Thursday, and I've been playing it a lot at home, and it is really good. It's got those chops, it's got those moments that you can say, yep, this is definitely 2 feet in the camp of metal, and I've been really enjoying it. And I think it's probably one of the only Judas Priest albums that I didn't have. I think there's one other, but this was the one from the 70s that I didn't have. So now I've got all of those. Brilliant album. Now, with that in mind, with that thought in mind, you know, like pointing at that, saying that was sort of perhaps the first heavy metal album after Black Sabbath, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that I think there was another band or another album that was there before that. A lot of people disagree, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for suggesting this, but I really do think this album that I'm going to show now, which I bought a new copy of, was a year before Sad Wings of Destiny. And of course I'm going to talk about UFO, Fawcett. I've got an original copy of this, which has been my only copy that I've been playing. I played it the other day and thought, it's such a good record, I really do want to get an upgrade on that. So I splashed out on this, again from Cardiff Record Exchange. It was there, and I saw it. It was quite a good price, and I thought, brilliant, I'll get that. So it's a 2 LP deluxe remastered limited edition on clear vinyl. It's got a lot of stuff to read here about the album, and here's the back side. It's the second album that UFO did with Michael Schenker. The first album that they did, Phenomenon, I showed that in previous videos. That was sort of like quite good, but it wasn't really all sort of complete sort of hard rock and metal. Whereas this, I feel, is, or at least it's enough to be able to say this was a metal album. It infuriates me if you go onto Metal Archives. They list this as being proto-metal, which I just don't understand. If you listen to this with the right mindset, you can say that this really did set the blueprint for instance, Iron Maiden. Really, I mean, 75. It was really, really early, but I honestly think that it's a contender for the first true heavy metal record after Sabbath. So you got the album nicely, beautifully remastered and everything like that. Then you've got a live recording. So here we go, clear vinyl. So it's live at the Record Plant, Los Angeles, 1975. It's a bit of a warts and all live recording. I mean, it's what can I say? They sound really good. It's right there, so you're right there, sort of as it's happening. None of this big boomy concert hall. It's like a small place, I guess, and it sounds like it. So you're right here in the sound and everything. The only thing that I would say was a bit of a negative was like they go out of tune with each other occasionally. So some of the songs, like you're kind of enjoying it, but that guitar over there is out of tune. And they change that the next song, but then eventually it happens again. So it sounds really good while they're playing in tune with one another. The moment they go out of tune, it gets a bit sort of screechy. But there you go. So those are my records and CDs that I've been collecting recently. I hope you found this mildly interesting. Thanks very much. Check out my next video.